Greetings, justice, and peace to everyone. I am going to be going live with an individual that I want to introduce to you all in just a second. How's everybody doing? Ted,
Hey, what's going on, my brother? How you doing?
how are you?
Doing all right. You hear me live?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that.
Okay, good. I want to introduce you all, justice and peace, to everyone here. Tell everybody your name and where you're from.
Yeah, hey, guys.
Okay, 1 second, Ted. Make sure your volume's good. It was jumping in and out. Hopefully mine won't do that.
What about now?
Say something again.
What about now? Now.
Okay, that sounds good.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead. Start over again.
I gotcha. Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Ted. Instagram is King Ted 1980. And I'm here from Rochester, New York, upstate New York. Born and raised
Good.
here.
And so, what are you're in school right now, correct?
Yeah, school right now. Finished close to getting a master's done. Relational management. Work time, just trying to move up in company.
Okay, good. We had a conversation, and I wanted to bring you on so everyone can hear one of your stories that I think would be important. A couple of years ago, I shared some things about you, the importance of when you get pulled over on traffic stop by any police officer. You remember that?
Right, right.
And how long ago was that? Do you remember how long ago was that?
That was probably about at least 2.5 years ago. It's been quite a few incidents that I encountered with the police department. Honestly, guys, with that incident, I remember I was leaving home. Leaving the gym one time. It's about late at night. It's about 11:30 ish, and on my way home, I was driving. It takes about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I always remember my pops always said, hey, son, because my pop's a Vietnam veteran. And he always said, hey, son, notice your surroundings. When you're driving, don't just have that tunnel vision to kind of like look straight, kind of like look around back and forth, just to see, who's around, who you never know who might be following you. But that particular night, I felt like somebody was following me. And I switched lanes, and went to the left lane. They switched lanes over. I switched to the right. They switched over. So I was like, you know what? If it happens again for another maybe 3 or 4 minutes, that's a sign I'm being followed. I'm not going to go home. So as I kept driving and driving, and I sped up some, maybe about 5, 10 miles, they sped up. I dropped my speed down. They dropped their speed down. And so I said, oh, I'm really not going home, because you just never, honestly, you never know if somebody's following you to either wait till you get home to rob you, do whatever the case may be. But in that instance, I got to like a light, and then that's when I was seeing the red and blue flashing lights. Police officer pulled me over, and I wasn't nervous, but I was just in my head like, why did it take this long for this officer to pull me over? And when he pulled me over, he could have pulled me over like on the main road, but he pulled me over on this real dark area where there was no lights. So I said,
And
okay.
around what time that was, you think?
It's probably about 11:35 p.m.
Okay,
11:35.
that's very important. Okay, about 11 something that night. Okay,
Yep,
go ahead.
11:35 p.m. So when he pulled me over, he asked me. He said, "Well, give me a driver's license and registration." And I said, "Anything that I do to cause you to pull me over?" Because I said it calm and nonchalant. I wasn't angry or anything. He just said, "Give me a driver's license and registration. Were you drinking or were you smoking?" I said, "No, man, I don't do drugs or alcohol. It's in the church. So I'm coming from the gym, just going home. Had a good workout." And so he sat there, and when he was talking to me, he put his hand on his gun, like he pulled the gun out. Like literally, I'm just shocked. And I said, "Officer, you don't have to do nothing like that." I said, "My hands are on the steering wheel. I'm I gave you everything so you can feel comfortable. I want to feel comfortable. He went back to his vehicle. I sat in the car for I sat in my own car for about 25 minutes. He was trying to look for everything. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he thought because I had a real nice car, that was his chance to pull me over. But he came back to the car and then he pulled his gun. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute now. That's something that you just don't do. And it had me nervous. And then the whole time I remember talking to my brother Steve, like long time ago, because he's been a cop, for so many years. He always said, man, Ted, when you get pulled over, you got to be careful, honestly, just as a black man. You can't start saying, hey, your laws and your rights, which we do, which we should have the right to say, I know my right. I can ask questions. But in that same sense, it's sad to say being a black man, it's at nighttime in a nice vehicle, and any type of wrong movement, it's a dark area. My life could have been gone. And I had to sit there and think about that as, he was telling me like, well, you did this or you moved. And I said, well, can you at least let me know what I did? I said, I'm not going to fight with you or argue with you or anything. He said, well, you were, your speed was going up and it was going down and it was going up and going down. I said, well, officer, I felt like I was being followed. I said, so that's something that my father always taught me. This is how you know if you're being followed. If you speed up and the person speed up, or if you slow down and the person slow down, you're being followed. 9 times out of 10, don't head home. So I said, I was just going to drive around the block a couple times until, I lose you somewhere. I said, but you pull me over. And then his reply was, well, if you felt like you're being followed, you should call the police. I said, well, the police is the one that's following me. I said, but I want to make you feel comfortable. You don't have to have your hands on your gun or even pull your gun out like I didn't do anything wrong. I said, but you know what? Whatever you ask of me, that's perfectly fine. In my head, I was just like, you know what? I want to live to make it home. And it's sad to say that we have to think that. I had a conversation with my mother recently, and she was like, baby, I know you don't have kids, you're not a parent. And she said, you don't understand what parents actually go through. And she told me, she said, as a parent, I pray for you guys, but I want to see you and any other men make it home. She said, let that sit in the back of thought of your head. Like, hey, look, I need to make it home at all costs. I knew my rights. I started to say something, but then I can kind of imagine what would that have done? If I would have said X, Y, Z, he could have said, hey, this guy was being belligerent or he reached for anything. It'd have been his word against mine. If I would have got loud, I had an attitude. And it's not to say that other men that have lost their lives or other brothers, because I call them all brothers. We all brothers. But it's not to say that they have done it. I just was talking about me, myself. I didn't want to do anything that would cause this man to shoot me and me losing my life. And I was remembering during that whole process while the guy was just grilling me and what officer was grilling me, he was looking at my registration, looking at my plates, looking around the car. I mean, he kind of walked halfway around the car to see if he could find anything, looking all inside, flashing the lights, couldn't see nothing. And I was
now while he was doing all that, what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was sitting there with my hands in the steering wheel.
Were you moving around? Were you doing anything? Any sudden movements? Just walk them through exactly, if you could remember, while he was looking through all your with the flashlight through your car, looking around your vehicle. All this was happening. This is at nighttime. This is 11 something at night. You pulled over in an area that's uncomfortable. You're being followed. You're agitated. Okay, he had you in the car for 25 minutes. How were you? What were you doing? Were you moving at the time while he was going around the car looking inside? What exactly were you doing? Was you still?
Yeah, actually, in the car, I just sat still. I just remember what you told me from a long time ago. You said, if you ever get pulled over, just sit still, be at peace. I just was like, I said a prayer in my head. I was calm. I was relaxed. I said I didn't want to go say the wrong thing and have anything else happen. So I said, I remember what you said. You was like, hey, man, when you ever get pulled over, sometimes you just got to relax, be calm, sit still. And I just did just that. And I stayed at peace. I let him do whatever he needed to do to feel comfortable. And I did explain to him in the end, I said, well, hey, man, it's not fair that, this is going on. I said, my twin sister, she's on the police force. And then he was just like, oh, okay, I get you. I understand. Well, well, here's what I'm gonna do. You should go on home and get there safely. And let me start over. Let me say this before he said that. And he said, well, what are you doing out here? And he
Mm.
said, I see this nice car out here. Like, you shouldn't be out here in this area. And I explained to him, I said, live out here. I said, you can check the address. I said, but wherever I live, it shouldn't constitute me driving any place. I should be able to drive where I want to go. But I said, officer, whatever you say, that's perfectly fine. I just complied. So you ask any questions, I won't move. I won't do anything out of the ordinary to make you feel uncomfortable. He had his attitudes, honestly, but I just stayed calm. I said, well, let me stay calm the whole time. I said, I want to make it home. I want to see to live another day. And in that process, um,
Good.
he let me. He didn't give me no ticket or anything. He was like, okay, you can go on home. I went home, and then the following day, I filed a complaint. And so I filed a complaint, explained the whole situation to them. They took that complaint down, and they said it'll go up to his captain. They'll be able to contact me back.
All right. Now, what y'all, I want y'all to understand. Now, here's a prime example where, of course, Ted did an assessment of this police officer. He didn't know the police officer, but he understood some things that was very important that that made it possible for him not only not to get a ticket, but to go home without being shot, without getting put off in handcuffs and put in the back seat of the patrol car and going to jail. Now, the first sign that I want y'all to understand this, if this ever happens to you, when a police officer comes up to your vehicle, the very first thing that you should automatically have in your possession is your driver's license all the way already out and your insurance. And if you don't, if you can't think straight, because I know under the circumstances, a lot of people that get nervous when they see lights and sirens. That's okay, but you want to get in the habit of doing that. Now, when a police officer approaches your vehicle, now Ted says something that was very important. He observed this police officer put his hand on his gun. Now that's a red flag. You know, when you have in relationships or you dealing with certain people that you don't know and they present themselves in a certain way that gives you a clue that this is a bad person that you don't want to have any type of relations with. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying?
That's
So
true.
with that being said, that red flag was enough for Ted to know who he was dealing with. If any one of you all observe a police officer come up to your patrol car and automatically put his hands on his gun for no reason in an aggressive manner, you have to make sure that you're going to have to be 10 times completely clear in your mind to listen to everything he tells you and
Yep.
to minimize any movement as much as possible. And it's very important, especially for the black listeners here. You will not, or you do not need to say a word other than if he asks you for your driver's license and registration or whatever insurance, you give that to him. You minimize your conversation, you minimize your movement, and you pay attention and to every one of his orders to you, because the elements are against you. First, he's a police officer. He has his hand on his gun. He's looking for something to get you on, and then you're in an element in this area that's unsafe. You don't know where you're at, so you're at a disadvantage all in and of itself. Now, this is another situation where this is why I wanted to bring you on, is because this is an example where a lot of people are saying it doesn't matter if you pay attention and if you don't cuss, you don't swear, and you don't yell, they're still going to shoot you. Here's a living proof. Ted did everything that I told him, and he had common sense and awareness of what his father told him, but he grew up the right way. He knew
Right.
how to have respect for authority, regardless of the fact that this police officer may be corrupt. By you being clear, being respectful, being mindful for where you were at, and you knew what you were dealing with, guaranteed your success, and you were able to go home not only with your life, but even without a ticket. Is that about correct, Ted?
That is correct. That is correct.
Very good. So there's no way around this in the environment that we're in now, Ted, and you know it.
Right.
That cursing, being belligerent, screaming, being emotional towards a police officer who already has red flags that you know that may be of no good, all of that is going to work against you. It's not going to work for you.
Right.
Okay? And another thing, when this police officer was clearly trying to find every and anything to get Ted on, regardless of that, Ted still remained calm. And I'm going to tell you something, police officers are very observant. So he was trying to agitate you too while in the process. He held you up
Oh yeah.
for about 25 minutes. Then he came back and made sure you saw him with his hand on his gun. All these are indicators, and he was trying to feed off what you were going to do. And if you would have fed off that reaction, what he did, he would have escalated it, because now you knew what you was dealing with. But because you were aware of it from the beginning, you didn't jump off at the mouth. You didn't run off at the mouth. He didn't come up to the patrol car. You didn't go cursing and swearing and demanding your rights, and you know your rights. You didn't do none of that. And that was very key. And I hope all of you all listen to what Ted said and what is being talked about very briefly. I did want to go on and discuss this matter with y'all so you all can hear for yourself what Ted, he's a very outstanding citizen. I grew up with Ted, and I know him very well. I know his family, and he's a legal gun owner.
Right.
He's in school. He's educated. He works hard. He has no criminal background. And I'll tell you, that police officer, when you being faced with a police officer who's corrupt, he doesn't look at, and nor does he care about any of that. Your main job is to hear what he has to say, take his orders, so you can go home. Is that right, Ted?
That is right. And honestly, I want to say, Steve, man, I know honestly we have freedom of speech. That's without a doubt. We're supposed to be able to speak freely, say what we want. But honestly, every situation is different. Until you're confronted with that situation, it's going to become different. And like you said, and this is to anybody that has a legal firearm, yeah, you're supposed to tell the police to let them know up front, hey, I have a legal firearm. I have license, I have permit, I have everything. But sometimes in the back of your head, you got to look at the facts. Like when I had to look at it, I'm a black man. I'm in a dark area. The situation or circumstance is totally different. The way he's acting, the way he's moving, he looks angry. He looks aggravated. I can see like the look on his face. His skin was looking like, first, like you can tell when people get mad, they turn red. So it's like your demeanor, everything about you, that your talk, the way your conversation, and if your voice is coming off strong and very tense, I had to say to myself, you know what? Let me just be calm. Like I had to just kind of relax, tell myself in my head, be calm. Because I could have said, hey, I'm a legal firearm. I have my pistol on me. That could have went another way. He could have used that and said, hey, you know what?
Absolutely.
He moved a certain way. And then I could have been dead. So it's like, you have to think about it. You got to be calm. I want to be at peace. Let me make it home. That's it.
Very good. Now, and when you ended the conversation, the key thing Ted did, he did this. Instead of directing all of his energy, instead of yelling and all this emotional stuff, the next day, Ted filed a report against this police officer.
Yep.
And he let that do the talking for him.
Yep.
You see that? And that was very constructive. And that was the wisest thing you could have done. Yep. That in and of itself will put the hurt on that officer, and I'm sure it did.
Yeah, that's true.
Ted, well, I appreciate you, man. Any final words you would like to say to the audience and those that will
No,
listen to this
no,
later on?
just stay at peace, be blessed. You know, if you're out on the road, I don't know what your state of mind is, if you believe in God or not. But hey, say your prayers like I do before I start driving. I just say my prayers, God, keep me. So that's about it.
All right, Ted. Hey, I love you, man, and I appreciate you, sir.
Love you
And I
too, bro.
want you to have a good evening, man, and I'll be talking to you.
All right, bro. Y'all guys have.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that was a good conversation. And I want to start doing more of that with you all. And I appreciate all of you. I hope all of you had a good day, a productive day, a day of justice. And I hope each and every one of you will live, eat, sleep, rise up in the morning, go about your daily life with justice on your mind, not just for yourself, but for all citizens around this country we call America and all around the world. Over out.